like they're laughing at my responses. But it's really great to be here with you all today. I think it's especially because we're connecting with you all across so many different countries, right? I believe there's someone here from Portugal, and we're here in Singapore, and it's actually such a great opportunity for us to connect in this types of means. I'm Jamie. I am leading the Asia Pacific Connect with Google community. I believe you've all connected with my counterparts in the other regions as well. And today we'll be going through a light agenda, but if you have any questions throughout the event, be sure to add them to the chat box, where our moderators will be answering your questions directly, and we'll also be answering some of these questions live. So yes, we want all your questions today, especially because that's what's going to make the most of today's time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask my tech recruiters to introduce themselves and just give a little summary about your career at Google and what you do.
Yeah, and I can start first. Hello everyone, this is Tama from Japan, and I was actually born and raised in Japan, Tokyo. Then I think I joined Google in 2012 as a new grad. Then it's been a long time. Then now I'm working for student programs, so mostly hiring for software engineer for Google Japan. Over to Charlotte.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm based in Singapore and I moved from California about 5 years ago. I have the same role as Tama, but I cover Southeast Asia, so I'm the tech recruiter here, and also I run the student development programs across the countries here.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeffrey, and currently the program specialist in Taiwan, where I was born and raised. I was actually working abroad, and I recently moved back to Taiwan because I believe that Google is investing a lot in Taiwan, and I want to be a part of this change.
Where were you working before?
I was working in Bangkok and Hong Kong for that.
That's so awesome.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, now you know.
Well, we've learned new things about each other today. That's pretty cool. I'll go ahead and talk through the agenda. We have a little less than 30 minutes, 15 minutes for you to hear from our recruiters about the roles that we're hiring for across this more suite, tech related. Just note that we are hiring and our roles are visa sponsored, which is why we wanted to interact with you all today. And on that note, we also know that there are some concerns, around just language, requirements. Just know that Google is an English first company. We do engage in this type of means, although all of us speak a different language, we're able to connect through English, right? So just do know that as you hear our conversation throughout today's event. We will also touch upon a little bit about the culture at Google and in our offices, as well as relocation. If you have any questions about any of these things, be sure to add them to the chat box. All right, so we'll just go ahead and get started with the first question. So we currently do have software engineering roles. If you could just expand a little bit about the teams that these three roles do support and just anything exciting that's going on in these offices. Yeah.
Who wants to start first?
Yeah.
I can go first. In Singapore, we have two main teams here. So they are both under the next billion users. One is called Google Pay, and the other one is called Files by Google, which you can look up online. These teams both serve to create products for the users in the next billion user market. So these are users coming online for the first time, and they're mobile first. Taiwan.
Okay, so I think Taiwan now stands a very unique position in Asia Pacific. We are now the biggest hardware engineering hub. But when I say hardware, we also need software engineers. Yeah. So when I say hardware, it's more about the projects that you'll be working on is hardware related. So we have a lot of teams. For example, we have Chrome OS operation systems, and we have Pixel teams. We have G chips or even home devices. So if you love hardware devices, then definitely Taiwan would be a very interesting spot to start with.
Yep. And for Tokyo, we have major three products. One, Google Search, two, Google Maps, and three, Chrome OS. You might think Google Japan only had three products, but actually each product has a variety of projects. For example, some teams are looking for machine learning specialists or NLP or iOS backend, frontend. So you should be able to find the best team here in Google Japan Tokyo office.
Right, that's so great. It's actually really exciting that we can share this about our offices. And because there is so much happening in APAC, not only at Google, but just across, right? So it's great that we at Google can be a part of it. On the note of interviewing, I know a lot of our students are anxious and like excited to hear more about interviewing, the process, as well as if there's any nuances. These are some of the questions that we did hear from you all in the RSVP form, so we would love to answer it. If Tama, you could just answer that question for us.
So regarding interview process or like are we hiring or not? So very simple. So for interview process is globally just the same. We'll have one coding phone interview. Plus after that, you will be invited to Google office and you have 4 on-site interview. And actually, we are here to talk about Taiwan and Singapore, Tokyo. So we are hiring, but the timeline and those audience are slightly different. So we'd like to understand your interest first. So we'll cover later, but if you look at the description of this YouTube live, it's here. There's an interest form, so please make sure to submit later.
All right. If you do have any more questions about the interview process, feel free to also add that to the chat box to your.
And also, I think in the process, recruiter can always support you.
Yes, we're here for you guys, really. And these are the first people you encounter in the process. All right, so the next question we have is around Google culture. I believe Google culture is the same across all of our offices. And it is, fun, unique. I mean, we all love our Google culture, right? If you guys could expand a little bit more about how the local culture is infused into your offices and what makes that fun or unique, or just sharing a little bit about your experience with that.
Yeah, I guess for Singapore, we kind of sit in a midst of like many emerging markets. So a lot of the teams here, we started out as a sales and marketing hub. We have over about 2,000 employees in this office. So a lot of our teams talk to clients in like Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and across APAC. So you'll see all different people from all over the world based in this office. And just 2 years ago, we just created an engineering team. So it's a huge diversity in terms of teams and roles, and also in terms of people that you'll meet. And not to mention, I feel like in all offices, there's like the food, like you'll have like Singaporean food or like food from Thailand here that our chefs cook for us. And our meeting rooms are even labeled with small things to represent the markets that we're working in.
Yeah, by the way, I'm visiting this office from Tokyo, and this office is super cool.
It's really cool.
It is very cool.
I would probably say the same thing about both of their offices.
This office is the biggest one, but every single office has its own unique flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Japan office too, as well as Taiwan. So yeah, it's all really great to hear about this too. Do you guys want to share about your offices?
So I think in terms of culture, Taiwanese are quite well known with like hospitality and friendliness. Like remember that we had an Indian colleague visited Taiwan this year, and he was so like amazed by the friendliness from Taiwanese. I think he asked for directions, and the guy bought him a coffee or something.
Oh,
Just like, oh, it's for you.
maybe they thought he was asking for coffee.
That's another possibility as well. Yeah, so I think Taiwanese are very friendly, especially towards foreigners, and also we have very inclusive culture, the whole society. We actually recently just passed through, we're the first country in Asia to recognize the same-sex marriage. So I think Taiwanese are generally accepting and loving.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I mean, maybe this is a little bit that I didn't know enough about Taiwan, but a lot of people speak English really well, right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people might not know that, but yeah, it was easy for me, even as a tourist, to get around. Yeah, all right.
This is tough. So many good things about
I know,
those
you're going
offices.
last, you should have gone first.
Yeah, but for Tokyo, a unique point is Google Japan is first international office outside US, so we have long history here. Another exciting news is we are moving to brand new office in Shibuya at the end of this year.
Exciting.
So I think we have better one than this. We'll see. And one last thing is, I think as you may know, we'll have having Olympic and Paralympic in 2020. So many exciting things are coming to Japan soon too.
Yeah, this is all very, very exciting stuff. I think I remember the first time that I came to Singapore and just experiencing not only just the Singapore office, but the ability that we can share this, right, and just kind of have that continued like just jitters as we even shared our experiences here. We are conscious that most of you are joining us from outside of APAC. We do want to share a little bit about the relocation experience. I relocated myself from New York, and we've had people who've lived abroad or even experienced other offices abroad. So Charlotte, if you could share with us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, sure. And I know we're kind of running out of time, so I'll make it quick. So I moved from California to Singapore, and I've actually never been in this country ever before. And the recruiting team was amazing in answering any questions around like, oh my gosh, how do I find a place? Or like, what's it going to be like there? And they've already mentioned that they're all English-speaking offices, so I had no language barriers coming in. And the Googler community, once you get onboarded or even before, they're going to be so welcoming, saying like, oh, you should live in this neighborhood. This is what's safe. You should buy this in America before you come here because it's cheaper there. So small tips like that. And once I came here, I was really able to stretch muscles that I could never before. So learning to meet new people from different cultures, learning to work with them, and also getting the chance to like travel for work and outside of work and just be immersed in this culture of something new. So if you're in doubt, I would highly, highly recommend just considering it and being somewhere different from where you're used to so that you can really learn more and develop yourself.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we would love to see you join us. That would be the best thing for us. So do submit your interest in the forum. Oh. All right, we're going to move on to live questions. We're really excited. Our production team behind the scenes is going to share their questions, your questions with us live. First question says, can you talk about any frameworks, languages, skills that would be helpful for us at Google? And if there's any nuance to APAC in particular that you could call out.
So I think speaking of general software engineering, the standard is again always the same. Maybe if you have differences, just let me know. But basically, it's a coding language. I think we are open to any language, but mostly, people will use like Java, C++, Python. Those are the major language. But if you are playing Google, we'll ask your preference, so you can use your preferred coding language.
It covers it all.
Yeah, right. So what's the process for converting to full-time abroad after interning in the US or even in EMEA? And as a US citizen, is it tough to get matched on the APAC team?
Yeah, anytime I think it comes to a conversion, you should work closely with your recruiter. And you should probably let them know, hey, I'm actually interested not in converting to the office I was based in for the internship, but to Tokyo, or I'm interested in converting to India. And your recruiter will help you and connect you with that team if there is a position available and fit for you.
They usually know best, even if they're based in the US, they know how to make the right connection. So trust them, they are your best partner in the application process. So be sure to ask those questions and communicate with them. Is there any differences in new hire training in each office? Common and team specific? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Is this referring to Googler training?
Yeah, I believe so. And I believe it's more around asking, like, is there any difference based on the product team that you'll support? What kind of training will you get to support them as well?
I think starting with Noogler at least. Noogler training is the same no matter which office you're in. So usually you get flown into an interregional Noogler training, which is New Googler, which is what we call Noogler. So onboarding is the same regardless of what you're in. But I'm sure each team and each hiring manager has their own way to make sure you're familiar with their framework and their platform that they're using for their projects. Is there anything I might be missing?
Yeah, I think some teams require specific skill.
Yeah.
Then I think you have specific training. But most of the case, training is just aligned globally.
Yeah, and the training in itself is actually very fun. I don't know if you've seen the movie Internship, but that's kind of what I think about my experience as a Googler. So yeah, there's a lot of fun going on during that time as well. Next question. Could you tell us what experience is generally required from undergrads for a full-time role? Are there any positions open for recent grads?
I think all the positions, all the locations that we're talking about today has positions for recent fresh grads. And in terms of experience, we don't really expect experience from a fresh grad. It's more about like, are you prepared for our like technical interviews and do you have what it takes to pass through the interviews?
Yeah, and I think Google's interview will be always, misunderstood because we are not judging you. We like to have a conversation with you at the coding interview. I think one thing we can emphasize is communication.
Yes. Yeah, and being open to feedback and just kind of, communicating throughout those feedbacks. The next question, are there opportunities for developers to switch teams across different offices? This is a great question, which we were hoping that we would get as well. Anyone want to talk about internal mobility?
I actually think in any role, regardless if you're a software engineer or even working on like people operations, Google really supports you to grow your career, and that includes moving internally, whether it's different teams or moving to another office, so you can learn about different culture and new markets. So yes, definitely there's an opportunity. You do have to perform well in your roles. It's not, you can't just cruise through your first year and then try to keep moving. But if you do perform well, your manager, you have that conversation with them, they'll definitely be supportive of you to move across different geographies into different offices for sure.
I actually had a internal mobility experience myself where I moved and transferred from the New York City office. So I'm a living testament that it's worth it. You should always give it a try. You learn so much through the process and you have the support you need to get there. So great question. So can I apply for an internship in APAC while also at US at the same time? So can our students apply for multiple roles across multiple regions, countries?
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're based. It's an online application, so don't worry. You just need to make sure you apply for each office that you're interested in. So just because you submit one application doesn't mean all the recruiters around the world see it. Make sure you identify the offices that you're interested in and apply for those individually.
Yeah, and on that note, be sure to add your submissions for your interests in the form below. We would love to see that, and they'll reach out to you. All right. Favorite aspects of SWE at Google, also in APAC. Any things that are fun there? Anything that's fun that you got to work on? Our team here is a group of recruiters, so they might not have firsthand experience working on those teams directly, but I know you guys work with SWEs every single day, so I know you have plenty of stories.
And I did kind of like a survey. Why did you join Google Japan as a software engineering? And there are multiple reasons, of course, but one of the reasons is impact. Google has so many, I think 8 products which has 1 billion users.
Yes.
So, if you work as software engineers, even you write a code, it's gonna bring huge impact to the real world. I think that's one thing. And also, Google in general, we have great software engineers globally. And if you join Google as a software engineer, you can work with those people, which means you can learn a lot. So those are, what I heard from people in Google Japan, working as a software engineer.
That's what Taiwanese software engineers always told me as well. Like they love to, because they're working on devices, right? So what they love is like just to bring a device to their family and say, see, this is what I coded. They love that moment. So I think it's really on the impact. The impact part really makes the work meaningful.
And when we hear from our India teams, we just hear just the reach that they have, right? Just the next billion users is actually the next billion users. There's people out there who get to experience the work that our SWEs do here in APAC. So it's all very fun stuff going on. Okay. For students who are graduating soon and want to try to become a full-time, what concepts do you believe are most important to practice for the interview?
Concepts.
I know what's covered. I mean, in the interviews generally is very heavily assessing your data structures and algorithm skills. Tama pointed out communication is key. I know technical ability is something you want to focus on, but also learning to do mock interviews and like actually practicing it with a friend or a peer is really important. There's a lot of practice problems that you can find on the internet these days, and your recruiter would give you all the resources. So really going through the practice problems would really help you on the technical side. Is there anything else?
The channels that you're watching, this one, right?
Yes.
YouTube channels.
Has a lot of mock interviews on the videos. I think it's really good.
It's a very nice resource. And you almost touched upon Kickstart.
Yeah, actually, if you want to check it out, if you Google Kickstart, these are kind of monthly rounds of like 3-hour coding puzzles, which you can expose yourself to and just practice. So you will get a score and there is a ranking, but we don't really look at it. It doesn't really matter to us because it's really for you to develop your skills and skills and to kind of see and get a preview of what to expect from like a technical interview.
Thank you for sharing about that. What does the process and timeline look like for internships?
Yeah, so again, APAC, Asia Pacific is very diverse.
Yeah.
So even we say internship, each region has different timeline. So I think here what we want to ask you is to submit the form, then we can follow up later for internship programs too.
Yeah, so our source of truth today will be the form, as well as the Google Careers website where you can see all the roles that are there as well.
This is great, so many questions.
I know.
People are watching.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for asking all your questions. We'll do our best to get through as many as we can. So I thought you can only apply to 3 roles at a time. If there are different locations, they all count for different applications and roles. How do you apply for multiple locations?
Yeah, I think they're right. It's a maximum of 3, so you do have to select which 3 locations that are your top preferred ones.
Yeah.
And maybe after that you can add in more. And also just keep in mind, once you talk to a recruiter, you can always let them know like, hey, I'm actually interested in number 4, 5, and 6. So don't feel like this will limit you forever or anything.
Yeah, you can change gears as needed.
Yeah, then I think again the process is globally the same. So I think from recruiter standpoint, we like to have career discussion with you,
Yeah.
like which is your priority, then we can also support you based on your career path.
Right. As recruiters, what do you think are the skills that most applicants miss? And how would you recommend them to get over
That's
it?
a really good question.
Yeah, I don't. Any?
I think for
skills?
me, and like when I see candidates going through the process, it is communication because I know these candidates are technically strong. I can see on their resume. Sometimes I can see their scores, but maybe in the interviews they get nervous or they forget to share their thoughts and like what you're actually coding and why you're doing it. So remember, I think communicating is really important, and how to practice that is to just practice saying things out loud and explaining your thoughts to a peer or a teacher or a friend.
Yeah, and
That's
that
something I've
that
seen.
might not be a skill that's naturally developed in our day-to-day, right? Especially when it comes to coding, right? To have to verbally say it out loud for someone to understand your train of thought. So be sure to, just get comfortable speaking out your code and helping people understand your logic.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's also important to have the concept of okay to make mistakes,
Oh, yes.
even during the interview. No one is perfect. We like to have how you reach out to the solution, what kind of discussion you have, how you collect the information. The process is the most important. So it's okay to make mistakes. But I really want you to also have that concept during the interview too.
Yeah. Any other tips about how to do successful interview or any misses that you might see? Is that it? All right, we'll move on to the next question. Can we fill out the form if we are undergrad interested in Google internships?
Yes.
Got it. It's the form.
Everything will
over
on the form
today.
today. Yeah, share your interest with us there. We'd love to see your submissions. All right. If I get a return internship offer after doing one in the US, can it be an APAC or do I need to apply directly?
Oh, that's a great question.
So again, talk to recruiter, recruiter in your region. Then that person will connect with us. Then we can support you.
Yeah, we are conscious that it is case by case, depending on what's available and the season that we're in.
Exactly.
Yeah, so many things change so quickly here at Google, and also our offices are all unique in timelines as well across the APAC. So do work with your recruiter; they're your best resource. This is our last question for today. Is there a time limit when applying at a location? Would we have to wait a year before applying again if our skills improve? How quickly you can reapply post your first one, and if there's a timeline they should be conscious of?
I think we highly recommend candidates to wait about a year, I believe. I think it's a good amount of time for you to kind of develop your skills and make sure that you look different, that you're going to perform and show something different when you come back for the interview. So I think
Yeah. I think 1 year is just guideline, and actually we don't limit, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
always
not like-
up to candidates.
yes.
All right, we're going to close this out, this time out by sharing a little bit about why APAC. We really want you all to join us in APAC, obviously, and we love APAC for what it is. But you want to share a little bit about why APAC?
For me, I think what really exciting about APAC is it's really about the growth. Like you can see like all the market is growing significantly, like moving new offices, opening new floors.
Yeah,
It's actually happening in a lot of offices.
yeah.
So, and the projects that you will be able to have exposure with, it's also really exciting. So for me, it's really about the growth.
Yeah, I think speaking of growth, it's like the impact that we make, right, in the markets. These are people maybe who haven't been exposed to any Google products, and you'll be the first ones to kind of bring that to them. And also on like the personal development side, you get to expand your network and it becomes more international. And for those, maybe if your home country is in Asia or maybe your parents are from Asia, it's something meaningful for you to come back and kind of give back to the countries that maybe your parents are from. I know that was definitely very meaningful for me as well, being near Korea. So these are all very exciting reasons why maybe you should consider an APAC opportunity.
It's definitely the best time to be here. The time really is now. If you want to share a little bit about the next steps that our students should
Yeah.
take.
So thank you for joining today. And if you are interested in those 3 positions, first step, please submit the form. It's here. So after that, recruiter will follow you up. So please wait for it. And one note is, this form submission will not promise you the proposed position, but will anyway contact you. And this form is available just now, so don't miss these opportunities.
Yeah.
And really look forward to seeing your submission.
Yes. Our recruiters here will be looking at the submissions and contacting you directly, so it'll be great to have that connection even afterwards. Another action item I do want to call out is that we want your feedback. Feedback is a gift, and we really love all the feedback that we can get from you. So be sure to share your feedback in the form below in the description, and be sure also to subscribe to the Google Students channel, where you'll hear about interview tips, about our offices, the culture, so many great things going on here at Google. So be sure to subscribe to that as well. And that is it for our time today. Thank you so much for spending the first, I feel like it's different time zones for everybody. So your morning, your evenings, your afternoons with us, and we hope to see you again soon. All right, we'll see you next time. Oh, bye.